Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to wait another 30 seconds. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure as you come in, make sure to hit the like button. Thank you so very much. Not going to stay on too long. It's going to be a very quick, well, not too quick, but I'm going to do my NFL picks. Wasn't able to go live last time. A lot going on, but I'm happy to be here this afternoon. And hopefully we can do this without a hitch. And as you come in, again, make sure to hit that like button on the way in. And if you noticed last week, I was 5-1 with my picks. Let's see if we can be undefeated this time. And I'll start off with Saturday's games. I'm going to start out with the 4:30 game where the Houston Texans go into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The Texans looked very good against the Chargers last week. The turning point in the game, of course. Hey, Mr. Carruthers. Good to see you. Good to see you. Always a pleasure to see you. And thank you so much for joining me. And maybe later on this evening, we could do something if you're not too busy. But going back to the game, and I've already shared my disdain for last week's game as a Steeler fan, but I digress. CJ Stroud made the play of the game. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Mr. Carruthers. I mean, when he escaped that 3rd and long and threw it down the field and completed that pass, I knew that Houston was going to win that game. And the thing also was Justin Herbert was dreadful. He had thrown 3 picks all season long and then turned around through 4 last week. That is not winning football. And I tell you what, if the Chargers decide to move on from Justin Herbert, you can understand why. Because Harbaugh wants his own guy. Yep, yes, they absolutely do. And they were considered the weak sister in the AFC. But it also lets you know how good a coach DeMeco Ryans is. And plus, let's face it, the talent that's on Houston can rival just about anyone's. And the AFC West, let's face it. I mean, let's look at the guys. And I think this is more of an indictment on Justin Herbert than it is. Bo Nix is a rookie. And to be quite honest, if you saw the first 3 games of the season, there wasn't very much expected out of Bo Nix. We already know about Pat Mahomes. So he's on another level. We already know that. But this is more about Justin Herbert than about the AFC West. The AFC North, let's face it. I mean, it was just really Baltimore and the Steelers. To be quite honest, a lot of teams are very happy that Joe Burrow and friends didn't make it. Because at the end of the season, and I'm a Steeler fan, and it hurts me to say it, let's face it, the scarier team down the stretch were the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's because of Joe Burrow and his bevy of receivers. Yeah, that Texans secondary is very good, and that's why I think that this game is going to be a lot closer. There are a lot of people that have the Chiefs as a 10-point favorite. I think that's entirely too much, and that's just my opinion. Hey, Miss Cheryl Burnett, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. And again, that's just my opinion. Now, this is one of those rest over ruts situations here. And a lot of people are going to think that Kansas City being off all these times, all these weeks is good. The Texans are getting a couple of guys back. The Texans are playing Good at the right time. No, I'm wearing the Seattle Sonics hat. Hey, Connie Chung Black. That's because one of the guys I grew up with, in fact, one of the guys that I'm from Mount Vernon, New York, and Gus Williams passed away at the age of 71 yesterday. That's why I'm wearing the Seattle hat, is to show respect and reverence to Gus Williams, one of the best guards during that time. And I'm shocked he's not in the Basketball Hall of Fame. That's an absolute joke. He and Dennis Johnson were the best backcourt in the NBA in the late 70s. They just were. But that's just not my opinion. That's just a fact. Yeah, they should have kept the Supersonics. That was a disgrace. They will never be. I mean, that Oklahoma City Thunder crap, they're the Seattle Supersonics. Sort of like the Washington Redskins will always be the Redskins, but that's another chapter in another book. We understand that's a political deal anyway, and that's why that happened. Would I be shocked if the Texans went into Kansas City and won this game? Yes, I would, because let's face it, it's all set up for Peppermint Patty and the Chiefs to go to yet another Super Bowl. And we all know this, okay? I do believe the Texans will keep it a lot closer. I can't pick them to win, but I do pick Kansas City to win, but just barely. Kansas City 27, Texans 23. But I do think that this is a good barometer and a good litmus test for C.J. Stroud and friends. And listen, you know we'd all be shocked here. That's the problem. I do believe the refs will hold their hand. And let's face it, we know that these referees, Tim Donaghy lets you know that the fate of these games are in the referees' hands. You know it and I know it. And we saw it even last week in all these games, but I digress. This is a game where I would not be shocked if there is an upset special, because the Detroit Lions, and they do get David Montgomery back, and that's huge because the Thunder and Lightning part of their running game definitely is a big deal. And they're at home to take on the Redskins. Now, it's one thing for Kansas City, who has won it before, to have all these weeks of rest. Oh, Mr. Carruthers, you know, if sports is about money, anything that is money-based, you know that they can manipulate things. Anything dealing with money and numbers can be manipulated, especially when it comes to who's in charge. But that's another story. You know Roger Goodell wants Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I mean, they are chasing history. Nobody has won 3 straight Super Bowls. And if Patrick Mahomes does this, he'll be known as probably the greatest quarterback of all time. They're already saying he is now. So imagine if he does that. Excuse me. But I digress. We saw Jared Goff and friends blow these games. I mean, my God, that was the worst Super Bowl ever. That Super Bowl with the Rams and Patriots. Texas got offensive momentum, and the refs call offensive pass. Yes, they did. And I would not be shocked if anything like that happened again this Saturday. I don't know if I've been more impressed with a rookie quarterback than Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has done everything and more. You don't think they're going to make first? You see, See, this is where we're going to have an argument, Mr. Carruthers, because first off, Peppermint Patty Mahomes, he is He's more Dominican than he is black, and he's biracial. It's totally different. You know it as well as I know it. Stop that. Listen, Cam Newton, and there is a lot of that, but see, Cam Newton didn't do himself any favors not going after the fumble, and he'll never live that down, even though he was the best quarterback in football that year. I mean, nobody did more with less. If you look at his running game, you look at his wide receivers, the fact that they went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl, that all gets lost. And also because of how his career ended, see, he tore that arm up. Once the shoulder was separated, he was not the same quarterback. But that's another chapter, another book. I would not be shocked if the Commanders went into Detroit and won this football game. I would not be shocked at all. But I believe Detroit will win it. Excuse me. I trust Dan Campbell a little more than I trust Dan Quinn. And I tell you what, Trump, oh Jesus, let's not even, oh God. I'm not even touching that one. I will go with Detroit 31-27 over the Commanders. I would not be shocked if there's an upset there. I would not be shocked at all. But I like Detroit here. I'll just put it like this. The winner of that game is going to the Super Bowl. If Washington went on to win it, it would have to face the Eagles, I think. And I think the Eagles are vulnerable this weekend. I really do. I know a lot of people do not think that. I personally do. I don't trust Jalen Hurts. I just don't. I do trust Saquon. I trust his receivers, but I think there's a lot of back and forth going on. Jalen Hurts and that sorry coach, listen, they could be had. And that takes me to the Rams going into Philadelphia and facing the Eagles. Matthew Stafford is different in the playoffs. He's certainly been different since he's been an LA Ram. The Rams are not the scariest team, though. The scariest team, to be quite honest, is the one that played us and took our manhood. But that's the next game. But you have to like the way that Stafford is playing. Obviously, the pair of receivers. And that running back just scores touchdowns all the time. The one thing that will help Philadelphia is supposed to snow. And the Rams are different outside. And this is a game that is tailor-made for Saquon Barkley. And Saquon ran roughshod the last time. Now, I do think Hurts will make just enough plays because the Rams don't have anybody to guard A.J. Brown. They just don't. And for that matter, Devontae Smith. And the Eagles defense can get to Stafford. Now, the Rams defense has played well, too. I am not going to say that they have no chance. The Rams have actually played better defense this year than last year with Aaron Donald. Would I be shocked if the Rams won this football game? Absolutely not. Can I pick them? Absolutely not. I'm going to go with Philadelphia 24-20 over the Los Angeles Rams. And next up, the Baltimore Ravens go into Buffalo to take on the Bills. Now, this is the game that I've looked forward to this weekend. It was a painful game. Being a Steeler fan, I couldn't be any more upset. Oh, man. I mean, we got our manhood taken away from us. Literally. And I'm not going to dive into that again. Josh Allen, they're trying to do everything in their power to give Josh Allen the MVP. And a lot of people tell you he's had less to work with. That's not really the case if you really look at it, but I digress. I mean, he was without his number one receiver, Zay Flowers. Listen, Allen has Amari Cooper. I mean, he has a decent running game himself, but I understand what the X factor is. I get it. Because of Derrick Henry is going to cost Lamar Jackson the MVP. I get it. That being said, Derrick Henry, I believe, will be the reason they win on Sunday. He is the X factor. If Derrick Henry rushes for at least 85 yards, it doesn't even have to be 100. The Ravens win easy. And we know it's going to be pretty rough up there in Buffalo. I get it. But Baltimore is built for this too. And I understand Bills Mafia is real. I get it. They have a wonderful fan base. They have a very good team. And let's face it, that championship window is closing for the Buffalo Bills. In fact, let's face it, both of these teams, hey, Michelle's daughter, how are you? Are in win-now mode. And the Bills are a very good home team. This will be the upset special of the week. I like the Ravens here in Buffalo, in Orchard Park. I know it's going to be snowing and freezing. But all they have to do is lather up Derrick Henry, play action. I love the Ravens here, 27-24 over the Buffalo Bills. There's always one of these teams that lose at home. Now, you can make the case that the Eagles are a more vulnerable team. I get it. You can make a case that Detroit could be vulnerable with all the injuries. But I do think Jayden Daniels' inexperience will come back to beat him. I can't bet against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. If it was just Lamar Jackson there and they had their hodgepodge running backs, okay. But I think it's Lamar Jackson's turn. I think people are sick of Peppermint Patty. I'm sick of Peppermint Patty. But nevertheless, Ravens 27, Bills 24. And those are my picks for the Divisional Playoffs 2025. Many thanks to Mr. Carruthers, Cheryl Burnett, and the Queen Bee, Michelle's daughter, and Brandon Hallam. And all those in the clouds, we thank you also. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on the way out. Uncle Claude signing out. Take care. Stay safe. God bless and enjoy your weekends, everyone.